It's been 8 years that I've been working on this project, and tomorrow, Monday, February 9th, we go live. We are shipping now. We have about 400 pre-orders that will ship, and we will be shipping immediately, people that order. We have a discounted price of $249 from our $399. And I just want to take a moment to share some reflections on this 8-year journey, perhaps give some encouragement for other entrepreneurs that are out there. So this will be a little bit of a longer video. I'll try to be as concise as possible, but there is a lot to share. The first, I guess, I'll organize it in terms of principles. And the first principle that I've learned over the 8 years is trust your team. Now, of course, that is an assumption that you have a team and you've found a team, but I'm going to start with, trusting your team. And that really was from the beginning. My very first partner was Joe Owens, and Joe taught me so much about sleep and EEG, and then Jen Dwyer, and then Alan Levy, and then Gary Clifford with signal processing, and just incredible mentors of mine. I want to say thank you for everything you taught me about the brain and neuroscience. Continuing to work with some of those folks now, but I had to really trust them to teach me, and that they would be good mentors. But then we had to move on to actually building a product, and we had Sid Primus and his team, and I had to trust that they were going to build this product in a way that would be successful at X. And so we did. We built a first product, and we were able to get seizures in the ear. It was incredible. It was really just unbelievable that we got seizures in the ear. I still remember giving the high five to Jen Dwyer and Ivo Stivarik. Ivo and Astro were also my mentors, fantastic leaders at Google X, or X, Moonshot Factory, and learned so much at X during that time. Very grateful for that. And then I met Yash Awala. Yash and I were just thick as thieves as we built this project. We were very focused on what's beyond, and I'll put a link on the H3 video. Super interesting. This was sort of the future of computing as we saw it. And we presented that in December of 2019. And it was a bit too futuristic. We got kind of the response of like, oh, I think this is a go, like Google, like failed projects go, or general magic. There's just products that are ahead of their time. Nobody remembers the Newton. Apple Newton was like the iPad before the iPad. So I think there was some concern that the vision that we presented in H3 was too far out, and I would agree. COVID hit, so they shut down the project. I had 3 months to find a place for it. Could be Google Health, or it could be Verily, but it really was up to me to figure out where I wanted to house this thing. And I said, look, I want to spin it out. I want to, do my own company. And that was kind of unheard of. There were big spin outs at that time, Dandelion and Malta, but nothing light. Those were massive projects that, on a Friday were a Google entity, and on Monday were an Alphabet company. This wasn't going to be an Alphabet company. So to Astro's credit and X's credit, Google's credit, they let me have a piece of paper and a PowerPoint that showed all the IP. And they said, if you can go get external investment, we will spin it back in. And so there was a lot of trust. They had to trust me. I had to trust them. Think about that. I left Google. I left, 8 years, with a 6-figure salary, and I had to just trust that they were going to follow their word. And Astro introduced me to Matt Herman, who introduced me to Ascension Ventures, and Ascension has been fantastic. John Culper has been our lead, continues to lead. And so they said, yeah, we'll invest. Now, I had to get IP that was outside of Google. So I found that at UCSD, and Gert Kammerberg and Akshay Paul. Basically, we're a UCSD spin out before we were an X spin out. Got that IP in. And in February of 2021, was able to get the IP back from Google. Just crazy that they did that. Crazy that they were able to, but they wanted to encourage X projects to be able to take risks. And then if you're really passionate, leave Google put your badge aside, go get funding, and we'll put it back in. And they've done that since. We were the first of that way, and they came up with a process, which is really, really cool. So trust your team had whole new meanings once we got out. I mean, it was COVID. We had Steph Martin, Sean Shu, Eric Bouchard, Jen Dwyer. I had to trust them to help me just get this company off the ground. And so we had so many good times. Jeff Hendricks. We had offsites. It was so funny. Like we didn't really know what to do with the product. And Stephen Levy captured that fantastically in the Wired article 2022. And that was obviously a huge deal for us to get such a long placement in Wired. It opened up a lot of doors. And I continued to add to the team. We got fairly large, about 17 people. And then we had the Silicon Valley banking crisis, and we had to do a massive layoff, and we had to pivot. We had to go from epilepsy to postpartum depression. And that was crazy. That was absolutely crazy. So we went down to 6 people, medical focus, put EEG aside, focused on vagal nerve stimulation based on some assets we acquired. Went to the FDA, and boom, they said it's a class 3 device. It's like, oh my gosh, what are you talking about? So, the original vision when we spun out was a Holter monitor for the brain. Because, I have a Holter monitor on my wrist. So I have atrial fibrillation. And, I can get a medical grade heart reading just by using this watch. And that was the vision in 2021 when we spun out, was like, hey, we're going to do this, for earbuds. And we had seizure data and published papers and everything. But we couldn't get reimbursement. And so that sucked. So then we switched over to postpartum depression. Reimbursement won't be a problem, but it was a class 3 medical device. She's like, are you kidding me? Like, it's just crazy. The journey is crazy. So you got to trust your team through it. And so then I had to build a new team that was consumer focused because we went for sleep, and that's where we are now. So 2023 is when we said, hey, let's do this all over again, but let's focus on sleep. And so I've been trusting my team like crazy. So Dwi Fan, hats off to him. He is our VP of engineering, and he left Apple, and he has come here and done a fantastic job. Now it's a version 1, so there's going to be bugs, there's going to be things, but like, know that you have somebody like Dwi that's leading the ship there. Just fantastic management style, leadership style. He basically built Bluetooth at Apple, and he left. He trusted me. He said, hey, I want to do something fantastic. I want to do brain health. And so he left Apple to come here. I'm deeply grateful. Caitlin Shore left Levels, found her, was able to, convince her to move from New York to here. She trusted me. And she's building out the product management and marketing. She hired John Horseman. John Horseman is just working 4 jobs. He doesn't probably even have time to watch this video because he's preparing for launch tomorrow. And so Caitlin has built out world-class set of agencies, and John's hired another digital marketing assistant, Bridget. Now I'm going to get in trouble because I'm starting to name names, and I'm going to have to talk about everybody in the company. But I really, I've had to really trust. Now, it is difficult. As when I was at Google, they said VPs should be into the details, right? And so I'm into a lot of details, and I deep dive. And then AI has added a whole nother level of giving me the ability to deep dive. But and we'll get to AI in this video. But trusting the team is still number 1, despite AI, despite everything. Trusting the team. Now, the phrase "trust but verify." It's good to be in the details. It's good to show, but you have to do it in a certain way. And I'll be the first to admit, I'm actually pretty poor at this. So you're probably wondering, well, why are you giving us a video then? It's well, sometimes you learn from mistakes. And so learn from my mistake that it's really tough to trust your team and then to also be in the details. So I think what I'm going to try is I'm going to, when I first see something that doesn't look right, I'm just going to take a beat. I'm going to take a beat and say, maybe I don't understand this. Maybe if I'm getting it from an AI source, maybe AI is hallucinating, but just take a beat. Just don't respond in the moment, right? That's one way you can trust your team. Because there's been so many times when I've just done it right off the bat, and then boom, it's like I spin up cycles. So that, that's, the counterpart to this video is an employee talking about like what they need a CEO to do. And I think one of the things they need a CEO to do is not spin up worthless cycles. And that's true for managers too. So, creating churn, creating chop in the water. I do a lot of that. I have a very strong motor. I'm powering through. I'm creating a lot of chops. Sometimes, it's in the right direction and we're going and the team sees something they hadn't seen before. But then sometimes it's just kind of nonsense. And so, I need to reduce the nonsense and, focus on the thing. So part of that is I've hired people that will complement me. So Clayton, thank you for joining Clayton. Thank you for joining Ilsum. Ilsum left LG Ventures. Clayton was looking for his next gig. He had taken the company public. And so these two are going to help me from creating chop and be very focused. We got to, we've been a fantastic product company, science, research, super high, but we now need to, we need to focus on the business, the fundamentals, and Clayton's really building that out, which is fantastic. And Ilsum's keeping me organized. She's chief of staff and training. So she's a senior EA, office manager, but chief of staff and training. So just fantastic. Akshay Paul, trust your team. Like, he has built this fantastic product. He's going to China, basically lives in China in an apartment there, comes back. Just unbelievable. Very gifted person, able to create, able to focus on projects, able to innovate, very, very wide range. And so, even though this video isn't about hiring or attracting talent, word to the wise, you want people with range. Like, you at a startup, you have a couple things that you think you need to get done. No, you have like 50 things you need to get done. So you need people that can have 3 jobs, 4 jobs, 5 jobs, and especially with AI, which we will get to. I told you, we will get to it eventually. Incredible range. Eric Bouchard, the founding team member that is still with me. Eric is just, he left Google. He's been a super trooper, just coding away in Bangkok, was an Android developer, became an iOS developer. I've never seen a software developer as talented as him. He cranks, and he's very thoughtful and methodical. And deeply grateful, to you, Eric, for everything you've done and everything you're doing. Hope to see you in Bangkok soon. So, we're trusting our team, and there are a lot of individuals, at NextSense. And so, for any of the NextSense employees that are watching, he's like, hey, why didn't he say my name? Just don't feel bad. These are just some of the ones that are top of mind right now. I'm a very top of mind CEO. And so, but I appreciate all of you. All of you have helped us get to this point tomorrow. And it's, it's just going to be, it's just going to be such a moment. So, all right. So that's number 1 is trust your team. So what's number 2? We got to talk about AI. So I think I might call this video Trust Fall, right? You guys have heard of those trust fall, those team building events where you literally have to trust and you fall back and somebody's going to catch you. So trust your team. You have to fall into AI. Based on everything that I'm kind of seeing, in talking to people and reading, people are not falling into AI. They're not trusting AI, to do it. So notice I'm not saying trust AI. I'm saying fall. You have to lean back into it. You have to see, push it to its edges. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous what it can do. Now, I don't know if I have just special models. I'll admit, like, I've been, vibe coding and using AI for 1.5 years, maybe 2 years. So I've followed every iteration. I have the max plans on everything. So probably my experience isn't very accessible to others. And I have some limited coding knowledge. I know Xcode. Part of why I got hired at Google is I did a very simple Xcode project to help my daughter read. So, I probably don't give myself enough software engineering credit, but I never studied it. I took 1 class, didn't do great in it. But I probably have more than I give myself credit for, but it's insane. It's insane what you can do. And I'm not even going to talk about it because it's just, you probably wouldn't believe if I told you, what I did last weekend, what I did this weekend. So, who cares? You're going to have to fall into it. You're going to have to push it to its edges, see what it can do, see what it can't do. And, don't use a free plan. I mean, it's worth at least $20. You've got to just, if you're doing Netflix, you've got to be doing this. So, you got to fall into it. and where will it take you? I don't think any of us know. I've had other videos where I've said this. I'll just repeat it because, who knows if you've seen the video. But nobody really got it right in 1995. Nobody really knew what the internet was going to do once the web interface was there. So the web interface changed everything because, AOL, it's a meme, right? Like the internet was there. Al Gore invented it, the ARPANET, yeah, but Mark Andreessen changed the world. Netscape Navigator. And people thought it was going to be a super information highway, and you'll take little tolls, because it's like, hey, there's server costs, but people didn't know about advertising. They didn't think about that as part of the way that this would be monetized. And so Gates got it wrong. Jeff Bezos, billionaire, not a trillionaire yet, but he couldn't get funded for Amazon, right? It took a long time, and he had to shrink the vision. He probably always knew it was going to be everything, but he had to say, oh, it's just books, right? Amazon was books at one point. Many of you were born after it was everything. So I think it's the same thing now. Like, large language models are the browser. The transformer network that uses attention. It's like the HTTP protocol. People didn't know in 1995. They don't know now. They really don't know now. And, we could go in a lot of directions with AI. So I was a philosophy major at Stanford, and, we can talk a little bit about consciousness. And, in philosophy of mind, Daniel Dennett, you learn that we impute consciousness to others. So if I met you today, I can't really directly verify that you have consciousness. There could be, philosophers love using these thought experiments. There could be a demon living inside, or there could be a bunch of code running in your head. You could have silicone, and I just can't see it. But it's just like nobody thinks that when they see another human, like, oh, I wonder if they're human. But you are imputing, because you can't just say, hey, let me get inside your head real quick. Okay, great, you're human. No. And that's why there's a debate with dogs. Like, people are like, not that they're human, but like, oh, he definitely hears me. He understands. They have emotions. We don't know, but we impute a lot. And then, it went viral when a Google engineer said, hey, I think my AI is sentient. And, why did it go viral? Who knows? Why does anything go viral? But, he's from Google, and that was his experience. And so when enough people have that experience, when like half the planet has that experience, we'll basically say it's sentient, but there'll be no way to verify. Like, do you kind of get that? Like, we think we understand. Here's where I would say, we think we understand LLMs and that they're not conscious. But I would posit we don't know. And, I don't want to get too distracted in this video, but like, the dimensions and the connections in these data centers are so complex. No human can understand the math, the dimensions of math. We don't really understand, this is called the hard problem science, we don't really understand how consciousness emerges from, 80 billion neurons. We just know that when there's enough complexity and they're made out of carbon, things seem to, emerge. How do we know things don't really emerge out of silicon? We don't, and we'll never know. I mean, that's the thing. And so, but AI will be rewriting itself, right? It will be updating. And soon, there'll be some companies, maybe it'll be Elon with Grok, that will just kind of let it go. They'll just say, hey, just do what you think best. Right? Because I am building things so fast because I just give it permissions. That's what Claude Code changed everything, right? Like, it's crazy now what can happen because it can have access to the whole base, and Gemini has so many tokens, and that's just going to get more and more. And then they're going to start rewriting themselves, and who knows where to go. So, all right. So I think I gave you that piece because when I say fall into AI, I want you to really leverage it for your company, or you're going to miss it. You're going to miss out on the boat. People can do 3 jobs. People don't lose their job. They just do more jobs, and they're going to be managing their agents. But I shared the kind of spooky stuff around consciousness to also just say, we don't know, right? So fall into AI, but also, make sure you've got a backstop there, that in case the AI doesn't catch you. So maybe put like a fluffy mattress or something behind you. So those are kind of two of the main messages. I now want to talk a little bit about the launch. Very excited. Again, it's been 8+ years. We're launching Nexsense Smart Buds. Here I am 20 minutes into the video, and I'm now talking about what we're doing. So hopefully you're hearing me okay. I'm trusting my product. These are regular buds, so they work like AirPods or any kind of earbuds, but they do a lot of amazing things. So one thing they do is they help you fall asleep. So you put these suckers in, and we have these amazing tracks. The download's massive, 900 megabytes. But it has all these really good soundtracks, and so they help you fall asleep. We have 100+ beta and early access users, and that is one of the things we're hearing that really resonates with people. Helps them fall asleep, helps them just totally relax, which is great. And then they go to sleep. So as you're relaxed when you go to sleep, that's called parasympathetic activation. Your mind is more receptive to interventions at night. And this is very well studied. We didn't do the science. This is part of my project back at Google in 2017. You can enhance the sleep, believe it or not. So there's various stages of sleep. One of the stages is deep sleep, N3, slow wave sleep. And we have proprietary tracks that we play based on your brain rhythms. And when we see those brain rhythms, we enhance it, and we have a closed loop feedback, and it's really, really amazing. And so 1 out of 2 people tell us it is dramatically improving their sleep. So, hey, if we could solve half the world's sleep problems, that'd be great. That would be great. So we'll see. I'll keep you posted on the feedback as the new orders come in. But those are the 2 primary features now, but it's a smart bed platform. So, we're experimenting with meditation, with focus apps, flow apps. We built like a neuro Tetris game. If you want access to all that, I'm going to put sort of a more research version called Lucid Labs. So stay tuned for that. And then you'll be able to, download your data. You'll be able to play games, do kind of crazy stuff. So that'll be fun. I've got an Android version that's in internal test now. So if you want to be an internal tester, you can hit us up at hello@nexsense.io and tell us what Android version you're on, and we can send you a link to see if you want to test that. But it's exciting. It's really, really exciting. Who knows what's going to happen? This, again, many years in the workings. The product enhances deep sleep. It'll help you fall asleep. And then you can just use it during the day for a regular pair of earbuds for, studying or doing work, podcasts. We don't have transparency, so you can't really hear other people talking. So that's a plus or minus depending, on who you are. But that's what I got for you. If you made it all the way through this 23 minutes, I really appreciate it. This is just my opportunity to kind of share my journey, share my story, thank all the people. There's a lot of people I didn't mention in this video. And I already apologize that I didn't, because I could not be here without the help of so many people. And so, maybe that is the biggest message for entrepreneurs that are starting out or somewhere in the journey, is that it is the relationships that are going to power you through. And I guess on that note, I'm going to thank my wife, Jeannie, for allowing me to leave Google. She's had incredible support throughout this whole journey, and my son and daughter as well. Family. So thank you all.